The girl ran laughing through the sunlit square, a blue ribbon fluttering behind her like a comet's tail. New Dawn Colony shimmered under Varelia 9's dual suns, its copper buildings casting elongated shadows across the stone tiles. Street vendors bartered spices and tech trinkets. Musicians strummed hybrid instruments. Children darted between benches and awnings. She crossed the line before anyone noticed. The line, a nearly invisible pulse barrier separating the colony from UGC enforcer jurisdiction. No sign. No warning. Just a ripple in the air and a shift in silence. Her mother shouted after her, the urgency in her voice lost in the laughter of the market. A single enforcer stood nearby. Virex Thal didn't speak. He didn't lift a hand in caution. He simply raised his weapon. One blast. The girl screamed. But it wasn't her scream that pierced the sky. It was her mother's. Commander Elian Cross watched the footage again. He had already seen it 7 times. From 3 angles. Zoomed. Enhanced. The mother, unarmed, sprinted forward. Threw herself over the girl. Plasma round to the back. She dropped instantly. The child sobbed beneath her, untouched. Thal holstered his weapon. Walked away. No aid. No apology. No hesitation. Elian's jaw tightened. A long, slow breath hissed through his nose. He reached out and shut the holoscreen. Casualty report, he asked without turning. His aide, Lieutenant Sarah Vale, cleared her throat. Name Mira Lane. Civil engineer 35. Survived the siege of Epsilon Reach. No military record. Daughter Saya age 6. Currently sedated, in recovery. The footage was leaked. It's spreading fast across civilian channels. Official UGC response. Standard justification. Trespassing, failure to obey, suspected threat. Pause. Thal claimed he feared detonation. Elian scoffed. The girl was holding a toy duck. Sarah didn't speak. He rose, his dark uniform crisp. His shoulders heavy with the weight of restraint. He'd spent years smoothing Earth's image, convincing the Concord that humans were no longer the violent upstarts of galactic memory. He'd believed it. But every belief had a breaking point. I want satellite coverage of all UGC enforcer compounds on Varelia 9, Elian said. Patch me into orbital command. You want to file a grievance? No, he said, voice steady. I'm activating Protocol 9. Sarah froze. That protocol hasn't been touched in since Mars. I remember. He met her eyes. So will they. Back on Varelia 9, candles flickered in makeshift shrines. Flowers piled up at the site where Mira Lane had fallen. Someone etched her name into the wall. Someone else added, she shielded her daughter. That was her only crime. The enforcer station down the road remained silent. No formal statement. No apology. Inside its walls, Virex Thal watched the growing unrest on a monitor. He didn't flinch. They weep, he muttered to himself, voice like cracked glass. But mourning is not justice. It's weakness. His second-in-command, a lanky Zernakian with shimmering scales, hesitated. The footage, it's causing unrest. Let them protest. They'll chant. They'll cry. Then they'll return to work. Humans are emotional cattle. They always beg for peace, but all they fear is strength. The second-in-command said nothing. Just stared at the flickering image of a child. Her mother's blood still staining her hands. On Earth's orbital station Athena's watch, Elian stood alone in the command chamber. Massive screens illuminated his face. Behind him, Admiral Narene's voice crackled through comms. Protocol 9 requires full council approval. You bypassed that. I didn't ask. You're risking war over one civilian death. Elian turned. Don't you dare reduce her to a statistic. Narene paused. You think this is the line, then? After decades of diplomacy. He looked out the viewport at the stars. I think peace without dignity is surrender. Silence. Then. You have my support. The ships launched quietly. No anthem. No banners. They moved like shadows, disguised as aid convoys, medical carriers, trade vessels. Inside, elite operatives, silent payloads, non-lethal disruptors. The objective was not chaos. It was message. The message was this: she mattered. Back in the medbay of New Dawn, Soya Lane stirred. Her tiny fingers curled around the locket a nurse placed in her hand, a silver piece shaped like a crescent moon. Inside, a pulse crystal, glowing faintly with her mother's last recorded heartbeat. "She saved me," the girl whispered. The nurse nodded, unable to speak. Outside, the colony's skies shimmered. Dozens of dark ships broke atmosphere silently, unnoticed by the common eye. But Virex Thal noticed. He stepped onto the tower balcony of his compound and narrowed his eyes at the horizon. He felt something old stirring, something human. Not rage, not vengeance, judgment. And judgment, when it came from Earth, never arrived loud. It arrived ready. In Elian's quarters, he stared at the hollow still of Myra's final moment. Her body mid-fall, arms curled over her daughter, as fierce, not afraid. He spoke to the silence. She wasn't a soldier. She didn't carry a weapon. All she had was love. He opened a private transmission, typed one line. "You murdered a mother." And beneath it, a second. "Now you'll learn what we do for our children." He hit send. The war hadn't started, but it would never be the same again. The council chamber on Earth had never been this quiet. Elian Cross stood at the center, back straight, eyes locked on the curved semicircle of representatives seated before him. Behind them, holograms of Earth's colonies flickered, one of them frozen on the image of a blood-stained child clutching a silver locket. The silence broke. "This is reckless," said Minister Halden. His voice polished but brittle. "Provocation without consensus. Protocol 9 bypasses every diplomatic." Elian cut him off. "A woman was murdered in front of her child. And the murderer walks free. You call diplomacy. I call it delay." President Rami leaned forward. "Commander, if we act now, we risk collapsing our status in the Concord." "We've earned our status in blood," Elian replied. "It wasn't handed to us. And if we let this go unpunished, we tell the galaxy that human lives are optional." He tapped his wrist pad. Footage rolled behind him. The mother's final act. A blast. The silence afterward. No words were necessary. President Rami exhaled. "Slowly. Then you proceed. Quietly. Clean. No civilian panic." Elian nodded once. "We're not here to start a war. We're here to end the lie that peace means obedience." 3 days later, Earth's operatives embedded themselves across Virelia 9. Disguised as engineers, relief workers, cargo pilots. They didn't carry flags. They carried data, targets, timetables. In orbit, the stealth fleet aligned. Captain Rhea Malek, commanding the ESV Retribution, leaned against the rail of her bridge. "They really signed off?" she asked, staring at the blank space ahead. Elian's face appeared on her comms. "Officially, no. But unofficially. Earth's tired of apologies that arrive after funerals." She gave a small, sharp grin. "Finally." In the colony, Soya Lane sat on a medical cot, her legs dangling above the floor. She hadn't spoken since the funeral. "Till now. I dreamed of her," she said softly. The nurse, adjusting her vitals, paused. "She wasn't afraid," Soya whispered. "She told me to listen. That fire's not always bad. Keeps you warm. Scares monsters. And sometimes it remembers." The nurse blinked back tears. In UGC headquarters on Virelia 9, Virex Thal dismissed the growing unrest reports without concern. Protest, he said, were background noise. Human emotions were like sparks in the wind. Brief. Directionless. He didn't see the pattern. Didn't see the silence in Earth's channels. Didn't feel the pull of something old and disciplined beginning to rise beneath that silence. Elian met with his core team in a darkened war room below Earth's defense headquarters. A 3D map of the planet hovered between them, lit with markers, each a UGC compound known for abuses. Not destruction targets. Demonstration targets. We neutralize leadership. Expose communications. Deliver evidence to the Concord on their own networks. We don't burn their house down, he said. We pull back the walls and let them see what's festering inside. Sarah Vale leaned over the display. And if they retaliate, then we stop holding back. Later that night, Elian stood outside the glass chamber where Soya slept. Through the reinforced panel, he watched her chest rise and fall. A soft hum surrounded her. Healing gel, memory suppressants, neural stabilizers. He keyed the door open and stepped in. She opened her eyes. Big hollow. He knelt beside her bed and held out a small device. What's that? She asked. A voice crystal. If you press here, he showed her, it plays someone's heartbeat. Your mother's. Leah blinked. Her fingers wrapped around it. She saved me. She did. I want to be like her. He nodded. You already are. The retribution broke through the upper atmosphere 2 nights later. Behind it 7 other vessels. Each cloaked, each humming low with potential. Captain Malek stood at her post as the first set of coordinates locked in. Confirmed. Compound Delta 3. Enforcer Barracks. Off-duty minimal staff. No civilians. Execute. 4 precision pods dropped from orbit. Silent. West. They didn't explode. They emitted a surge. Cutting power, frying weapons caches, disabling comms. Within 3 seconds the building was blind. Earth operatives entered. Recorded. Tagged evidence. Injected nanoprobes into command consoles. When they left no one had died. But everyone knew something had changed. The Concord met in emergency session. Alien races that once snorted at Earth's overreaction now whispered terms like calculated, surgical, and unforgiving. One Arisian diplomat muttered, "They're not lashing out. They're teaching." Virex Thal finally noticed when his personal shuttle failed to respond. He stormed into command control. "Get me orbital scans now. And where the hell is my off-planet line?" His aide was pale. "Everything's been rerouted. Our entire network's under intrusion. They've fed our own records into the Concord archive, including classified orders." Virex blinked. "Impossible. They accessed your authorization trail. Footage. Mirror lane. They linked it to command intent. Pre-approved force escalation on civilians." Virex stepped back. Just 1 pace. For the first time in years, something crept into his voice. Elian stood before a comms panel aboard the Retribution. He recorded one message. To the unified galactic Concord. We offered peace. We buried our dead quietly. We asked for acknowledgement. You answered with indifference. We are not conquerors. But we do not forget. Not when a mother's last act is turned into a footnote. This isn't revenge. It's memory. And it burns. He hit send. Across the galaxy the message echoed. Worlds that had dismissed Earth began securing their own colonies. Words like human retaliation entered diplomatic briefings. On Virelia 9, parents held their children tighter. Because even those who didn't understand war understood the look in a parent's eyes when someone harmed their child. And Earth had just opened its eyes. Wait, clear. And furious. The Retribution hung above Virelia 9 like a ghost. Its hull absorbed light, a void among stars. No transmissions. No threats. Just presence. Watching. Below, UGC Command scrambled to decipher the breach. Their systems were still unstable. Communications fractured. Internal security compromised. The previous night's infiltration had exposed encrypted archives, detention records, field reports, footage never meant for review. In the command tower, Enforcer Virex Thal gritted his teeth. They're not retaliating, he said, eyes scanning the reports. They're revealing. His aide, a pale-skinned Cornian, replied quietly. Sir, Earth operatives have hit 5 compounds in 3 days. No casualties. Just precision. Thal's voice dropped an octave. They think they can dismantle our authority piece by piece. No, sir, the aide replied. They already have. Elian Cross stood in the Retribution's war room, hands behind his back, silent as holograms danced before him. 5 targets struck. 13 key enforcers exposed. Evidence uploaded to the Concorde via Earth's neutral channel. Every action calculated, clean, measured. But the next strike wasn't about exposure. This time it was personal. He landed with a team of 5 just outside UGC Central Command, the nerve center of Thal's enforcement zone. The drop was soundless, the shuttle cloaked until its belly skimmed the trees. They moved through the forest in matte armor, unarmed but wired with counter-resistance tools. Inside his earpiece, Sarah's voice came through. UGC scanners down. You've got 10 minutes before backup systems restore. Plenty, Elian replied. They entered through the service ducts. No alarms, no guards, just the hum of a machine built on fear. Virex Thal stood at the center of the command hall when the door hissed open. He turned and found Elian standing there. Alone. No weapon. No mask. Just him. The enforcer's hand moved to his holster. Don't, Elian said. Not unless you want to test Earth's final doctrine today. Thal hesitated. Elian stepped closer. I gave you a chance, he said calmly. After Mira Lane. After you walked away from the body of a mother shielding her child. She crossed a boundary, Thal snapped. She crossed a strip of empty air. And you decided that made her target practice. She was unresponsive. Protocol. She was calling for her daughter. Elian's voice cracked, just once before he caught it again. You didn't shoot to disable. You didn't warn. You executed. Thal sneered. This conversation is over. He reached for the console behind him. A quiet beep echoed from his wrist pad. Elian smiled faintly. Already disabled. Along with every private server you tried to wipe. Thal's eyes widened. You accessed. All of it, Elian said. And so did the Concorde. They know now. About the undocumented detentions. The disappearances. Your containment initiative proposals for human colonies. Thal's voice dropped to a whisper. You'll burn for this. No, Elian said, stepping forward. I won't lift a hand. Because punishment isn't ours to deliver. 2 human operatives entered, flanking the room. Between them hovered a stasis capsule, open and waiting. Elian nodded toward it. You're going to Earth. Thal laughed once, bitter and cracked. For trial. For exposure, Elian answered. You'll speak. In front of 10 billion eyes. Not as a warrior. Not as an enforcer. As a coward who mistook fear for control. Outside, the Retribution's comms lit up. From dozens of colonies. Hundreds of species. Messages of support. Cautious yes but shifting. The Concorde issued an emergency ethics directive. The phrase human-led accountability protocol entered formal discussion. One line from a Zalari diplomat stood out. Perhaps Earth never needed to prove its civility. It only needed to be provoked to reveal its limits. Back in the colony square where Mira Lane had died, workers installed a new beacon. Not a statue. A listening post. It would record all local enforcement interactions. Public, transparent, and shielded by Earth UGC treaty law. Recently revised. No more shadows. No more silence. On board the shuttle transporting Virex Thal, the enforcer sat strapped in stasis cuffs, blinking against the lights. Across from him sat Elian, arms folded, gaze steady. You'll never be seen the same again, Thal said, voice dry. You've destroyed the illusion. There was no illusion, Elian replied. Only our restraint. He leaned forward. You didn't just pull a trigger. You proved every warning we tried to ignore. Thal smiled faintly. And you proved what we feared. Elian stared back. That we don't start wars, but we finish what others begin. By the time the shuttle entered Earth's orbit, over 200 media channels were prepared for live coverage. Not of a trial, of a reckoning. The message was simple. Earth did not scream. Earth did not threaten. Earth simply acted. The chamber lights dimmed as the broadcast began. 1,000 worlds tuned in, some out of curiosity, others from fear. Every member of the unified galactic Concord received the same encrypted feed. A sterile courtroom deep beneath Earth's surface, soundproofed, shielded, but completely open to the galaxy's eyes. Virex Thal stood inside a transparent holding cell. Shackled. Silent. Not defiant, just hollow. Elian Cross watched from the gallery, not as an officer, but as a citizen. No uniform. No medals. Just presence. The room wasn't about vengeance. It was about acknowledgement. The judge, a quiet-faced woman in her 50s, spoke first. You are not here today for punishment. You are here for clarity. Speak freely. The galaxy listens. Thal didn't respond. The footage played instead. Mira Lane's final seconds. Her sprint. Her daughter's scream. The bolt. The chamber was silent. Then came the second clip. Thal's internal orders. Any unauthorized approach past line D is to be neutralized immediately. No exceptions. Human hesitation is weakness. That line didn't fade. Echoed. Cross Concord channels. Cross star systems. Cross history. 3 sectors away, on the lush colony of Asterin, a veteran Zalari diplomat turned off the feed and stared at the wall. His assistant asked, "Sir, I always thought humans were fragile," the diplomat murmured. Turns out they were only waiting. Waiting for what? For someone to make the mistake of thinking love was a flaw. On Varelia 9 the shrine was complete. Not grand. Not loud. Just a polished stone bench under an arch of native blossoms, set on the very spot Mira had fallen. Inscribed in silver. She chose to stand. So now we never sit silent. Saya sat beneath it, knees pulled to her chest. The voice crystal played softly beside her. Her mother's heartbeat slow and steady. Children approached. Not to stare but to sit with her. One brought a toy duck. Placed it on the bench. "I think she'd want you to have it." Kia looked up. Smiled. Just a little. In orbit, Earth's diplomatic channels reopened. Elian Cross stood before the Concord delegates. Not with demands, but with clarity. "We don't seek revenge," he said. "We seek equilibrium. This galaxy taught us that screaming is weakness. So we learned to act in silence. Now," he continued, "you've seen what we protect, and how far we'll go to shield it. Some call that dangerous. We call it love." He paused. "Make your laws. Hold your tribunals. But remember, we are not afraid. And we are no longer asking." Back on Earth, the child watched the stars. Saya Lane sat on the balcony of the memorial tower, legs swinging, hair catching the wind. Beside her, Elian knelt. "I didn't get to say goodbye," she whispered. Elian didn't speak at first. He simply placed a folded cloth in her lap. Inside a medal. "This was hers now," he said. "Earned not for fighting, but for protecting what mattered." Saya ran her fingers over it. "Will the stars remember her?" "Yes," Elian said. "Because they'll remember what Earth did after she was gone." The Concord ratified a new charter, the Civilian Preservation Act. Each species voted. Some hesitated, but all passed it. And in the footnotes, buried beneath legal clauses and enforcement protocols, was a single line added by Earth's delegation. "The fire may sleep, but it never forgets." Elian walked alone along Earth's northern cliffs weeks later. No security detail. No reporters. Just air and salt and silence. Sarah Vale met him at the edge. "They offered you a permanent seat on the Concord's new Justice Committee," she said. "I'm not interested." They also offered you a monument. He shook his head. This wasn't about me. Sarah looked out at the waves. You think they'll test us again? Elian didn't answer right away. Then finally, only if they forget what happened when we stopped asking for permission. Across the stars, whispers became doctrine. Diplomatic academies began teaching the Earth event, not as a war, as a correction. Alien officers studied it not for tactics, but for restraint. The lesson was never the weapons. It was what happened before the weapons were drawn. The warning, the silence, the fire. Back at the memorial on Varelia 9, a young boy placed another candle under the arch. His father watched him, one hand on his shoulder. What did she do, Dad? The man looked down. She reminded us, he said, what it means to stand for someone else. High above, on Earth's defense network, a final update appeared in quiet red letters. In the event that a human dies protecting their child, Earth will not request permission. Earth will respond. With judgment and fire.